Hello and welcome to the video demo of the eMite software product, where I'll take you through the eMite Silverlight interface and also the new iPad and iPhone interface, which has been revamped for iOS 7. Now, eMite is a product that boosts the visibility of business systems availability and also performance data, and it captures that information in the form of what we call metrics. A metric has a few separate pieces of information that it maintains for each of these points of data. Firstly, each metric has a status, as you can see indicated by these status icons, a name, a value, so that the value of the metric may be plotted on a chart, as you can see down the bottom of the page. Each metric can also have a warning threshold, referred to as T1, and an alert threshold, referred to as T2. The eMite Silverlight interface lets you view the history of each metric in a chart and be quite prescriptive in the area that you need to that you can view with full zoom capability around the metric's history analysis, so that you can pinpoint exactly when a particular metric tripped a threshold or hit a certain status. eMite metrics can also be arranged in what's called a metric hierarchy. On the left-hand side of the page, you can see how the Swift queue has propagated up the red alert status all the way to the top of this metric hierarchy tree, so that you can see, when you're fully zoomed out, that there is an area that needs your attention just by glancing at this interface. Now, the eMite Silverlight interface allows you to easily customize a view so that you can show only what you're interested in. So, for example, if the only thing you cared about was the behavior of those Swift queues, you could quite easily come in here and select any of these templates to show the layout, a data block. For example, you might want to see a tree and an advanced chart, and the only thing that you wanted to see on this chart were the Swift queue lengths. You just drag over these items that you need correlation for, pick the time range, pick the averages, pick a chart type that's appropriate, and that is all you need to do. And this will be updated in real time, and you can also configure any of these other data block components to display information that is also appropriate. One of the other features of eMite is the analysis queue, where you can configure custom reports which will update in near real time with the latest values, the latest aggregated values rather, of any aspect of your business systems that you deem appropriate. For example, let's say you wanted to see the maximum Swift queue size on a Wednesday. We would just create a new report where we first select that we want to see a max value. Now you can see there are a number of other options here for the measure, but we'll stick with max value for the moment. We then simply select that we want to see a queue, so a Swift queue. You can see other options here. You could do this for disk or CPU or anything else that you had already in your service model. This list grows as your data grows. And then a filter, so let's say we wanted to slice this by the Wednesday, so a day of the week, cut by Wednesday. Preview the report, we can see that our max Swift queue, we'll call this report, is ANZ on a Wednesday. And we'll create a new report set for this called operational reports. And there you have it. Save and exit, and there's our custom report, which will be updated as this data is updated in the future. You will see this report change so that it is relevant immediately. If you then, so how does this data actually get into eMite? So I'll just, before I display the iPad interface, I will give you a bit of an overview on how data gets into eMite. So the onboarding process We can take feeds from web services, queries of databases, files that contain any data that you need to input into eMite. And the key for us is to determine what needs to map into those metrics. So you can see in the example here, the onboard process maps the queue column of a query and the depth column of a query into parts of the metric name and also the metric value. Once that has been preset, then we can just run that query on a regular basis to build the history that is used to populate the charts. We can also calculate the statuses, the reds and the yellows and the greens, based on the warning and alert thresholds that we also predefine for those metrics. Now that report that we previously built, we can also see while we're on the road using the new iOS 7 eMite app by simply entering the reports section. We now have an operational reports section here where we can see that exact same report but from the point of view of the iPad. Now let's say we didn't necessarily want to use the max Swift queue, but we wanted to also see averages and minimums. So we would just jump back to our Silverlight interface. We can edit this particular report here. And we could select that we also wanted minimum and an average. And then we could preview it, save it, and there's our report updated. I haven't updated the name as yet, just for speed purposes. But we can come back here, select the same report, and there, it's updated in real time on your iPad interface. Now, if you didn't have an iPad and you only had an iPhone, that doesn't matter. Just load up the iPhone. Oops, not upside down. Open the eMite interface, open up the reports, find the operational reports, and that's what it looks like on the iPhone. Now let's say that you wanted this in portrait, you didn't want it in landscape, you couldn't quite read those names. Well, pinch and zoom is fully supported in the iOS interfaces on iPad and iPhone. Don't forget also that the full metrics hierarchy is also available on the iPad and the iPhone, so any metric you can drill through if you get an alert status and then view those charts to map that behaviour back to whenever you need to. You can fine-grain these reporting periods as well, so you can get greater visibility of the behaviour of these metrics over time. Well, thank you for watching the demo. For further information, please contact support@emite.com.